Okay, I think now we're live. Thanks everyone for joining us on the IGC conference, and we're going to be talking about how to survive in Web3, which is quite a big and important topic right now. So let's start by introducing everyone. My name is Eugene, and I'm the head of operations in the DeepMine game. Please, Iman, Jona, and Yaroslav, introduce yourself and your projects.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Iman from Storms. I'm the head of studio at Storms. Storms basically is a Singapore-based gaming company. Previously, we've been working a lot in the hyper-casual scene. But right now, our main focus is on our two Web3 projects, basically. One is a platform, another one is a Web3 game.
Jona?
Hi, I'm Jona. I am one of the founders of QUDO, or actually Blockbuster, it's the company behind it. Starting last winter, we started developing QUDO in 2018, and we've been working on that for a couple of years. And this is a platform where we enable Web2 games to use our SDK, input QUDO into their games, and by that, getting all these features of Web3. So be the bridge between Web2 games and Web3. And we are currently in testnet phase, but we already have over 30 games using it, and we're soon going to mainnet.
Hey, my name is Yaroslav. I'm from Yard Hub. We are a venture studio focused on Web3 projects. In our portfolio, we've got projects from Gamify, we've got NFT projects, some infrastructure projects like the white label, non-custodial wallet solutions, and many more. And right now, we're in the middle of this harsh crypto winter. And today's topic is very relevant for us, as we are like a serial entrepreneurship vehicle in this industry.
Great, thank you for the introduction, everyone. Let's start with the bigger question, with the elephant in the room. So we've had Sam Beckman-Fried arrested a couple of days ago. Then we had a Mesner report by Binance that got, I think, the opposite reaction as it was intended. It was there to bring certainty, and I think it brought a lot of uncertainty because people just didn't like what they saw. So the question is, do you think we're at the peak of the FUD in the Web3 market, or is there are we at the bottom of the market, or do you think more bad things can happen that will bring even more uncertainty and trust issues to the space?
Maybe I can give some opinion there, because I started with Bitcoin in 2013. It went to 120 and then dropped to 80, and I thought this must be a good time to buy at 80 euros. And it was, but then it went to 1,000, then it dropped to 250 again. Then it went to 20,000, dropped to 3,000 again. So I've been on this roller coaster for a while now. And what I think, the thing that you see is that the bottom is usually quite long, because these sort of effects keep happening where this exchange crashes and then there's this other one that relies on it. So it's usually this domino effect, but dominoes usually end somewhere. And I think, probably FTX is a really major one. And I find it hard to believe that there are no further dominoes that wouldn't have fallen by now because of earlier also with Terra. It's so much money has been lost by centralizing these funds. The lessons haven't been learned over the years, but it's usually the same thing, that we place too much power in the hands of too little people with too little experience. And the people have been getting more experience over the years, but that experience has mostly been marketing. So I think still many people are working on great projects and they will thrive. But these sort of swings of the market are not helping. But then again, money is getting in. So the companies that are really trying to create great things, they're maturing and they will get there.
Yeah. Also to add to that, I kind of agree with Jona. So It's more like a cycle, right? Every time. And also, like, aside from seeing it as a cycle, I think we can also see the whole market evolving over time. So the way I see it, like all of this ups and downs, part of it. Obviously, it is concerning right now, the situation, but and it might mean also like having more regulations, which is kind of opposite of the underlying promise of the whole Web3, right, which is decentralization. But at the end of the day, also like having some level of regulation is, from my opinion, is not always a bad thing. Especially for, like, given everything that we've seen so far, having a level of regulation that can really help minimize those frauds um, is not necessarily a bad thing, and can help to develop more trust over time for the whole space.
On the question, we've got like 2 points. The first one is that the FTX crash was probably the last in the line of any serious crashes. If we don't take Binance, actually FTX in terms of realized losses was much smaller than Celsius and Three Arrows and Luna stuff. It's like around 10 billion, which is a lot of money, but compared to like 30 from Celsius and 25 from Luna and Three Arrows Capital, it's a much smaller amount. And in this case, the biggest amounts were lost by corporate structures, I mean, like the stock investors, the equity investors and large funds. So if Binance doesn't crash, I guess this was the last in terms of being, like very huge things happening, because everything else what it has left, I think Coinbase won't crash this way, obviously, because this is a US regulated company. They might have business problems, but not this kind of shit show that we've seen with FTX. So the second point is that our market is still majorly dependent on the overall economic situation, what's happening in the world, because of all markets being very tight and being very vulnerable and volatile right now. Crypto is a highly volatile asset, even during the the normal times, becomes even more turbulent, and even more tension is driven to any slightest mistrust, slightest bad things happening. So as far as we're still in this macro bad situation, crypto is on the edge of risk. It's like we should be ready to live in this constant tomorrow could be the last day paradigm. But as soon as the whole economic situation bottoms out, the war comes to an end, there are positive sentiments in the economy, then people just forget about all these problems, and then boom, everything is green again, everyone's hyped again, because it's obvious that people and companies are getting tired of this non-stop bad things. It's against our nature. We always want something good, things to grow. So everyone's like sitting on that cash and waiting to come in. So we might have another bumps on the road ahead, but overall, I guess like it's a matter of time. It could be 1 year, it could be 2 years, but I think the future is good anyway. Thanks.
Yeah, and just to add to that, like even though it's a cycle, but I think the difference with crypto is that every next cycle is much bigger than the previous one, because like within normal economy cycles, they sometimes they're big, sometimes they're small. With crypto, every next drop is so much bigger and so much hurtful, and it actually brings me to the next question, because it is so big right now. Are we to expect like a properly big regulation crackdown on the space? Because one can argue that that the lack of regulation is one of the drivers for the space. A lot of projects they don't need to invest so much into the legal structures, into like all this stuff. They just build and they think, okay, we'll figure it out later on. And I think FTX is a great example. I think there was a report that they were doing like all their accounting in the QuickBooks, which is a software for companies that have like 20 employees, and it just shows, that. But it's good for innovation, right? When you don't need to worry about all this stuff. So do you think we are to expect like a proper regulatory crackdown? I would say in Europe and in the US, because I think like Japan has already had a very strict regulation. That's why like everyone is getting their money from the FTX Japan. But do you expect that in Europe and in the US we will have more and more laws regulating Web3?
For sure. I think the more institutional parties that are getting into blockchain, even just to store their tokens or NFTs or whatever, they need regulated places. There will probably be investors in those funds that will require it. So it will become an advantage, and also being able to gather so many funds is more profitable because now money is more expensive. Money was so cheap that it actually sort of storing funds for other people had no real advantage. So not really a bank could step in and make a profitable business out of it. And that's also changing now. So I think what we see now is sort of the extreme of what happens when there's a lot of money in a lot of people's hands, especially with the COVID money that was handed out. And everything is rising. So then a highly volatile thing like crypto, and especially where people are promising mountains of gold, then you see this stuff happening. So regulation will surely come, but also because there's no other way to do it, because you will have more institutional parties that will sort of get into this sphere. Now it's more profitable.
If you had my 5 cents on this is regulation is surely there to be. For my part, if we can stay outside the regulatory, we will stay there as long as it's possible, as we're not breaking the law, because I hate all this bureaucratic stuff. And the thing is that if we talk about any kind of financial service, so you take someone's money to keep it and promise to give it back, this stuff should be 100% regulated because, well, of the common low level of, I don't know, like financial education or whatever you say about common folks, right? So this should be regulated. If we talk about kind of investment, or we talk about, like innovative projects, I don't see how regulations could and should help. I mean, like if an investor is willing to give money for the shares or tokens or whatever equity, and there is no promise of any profits, there is no promise of that investor getting that money back or whatever, I don't see why it should be regulated. I mean, like when governments try to put their nose into these interactions where like everyone understands what he's doing and etc., it only creates obstacles and hurdles, and that's what actually stops innovation. That's what has been happening with married technologies. Why US, for example, have a lot of like advanced technological breakthroughs, because their legislature approach is like, okay, until it's big and until it starts messing with like common folks' money, we won't go there. I mean, like, you just grow and that's it. But then when this is a big market, and when like households are put under risk, then the government steps in. But for many Web3 projects, I think this shouldn't be a problem. Like, let's say FTX or 3 Hours Capital or Luna, these were not Web3 projects. This was like, financial vehicles but using like stable coins instead of US dollars. They're not different from any kind of financial scam or whatever.
But do you think Tornado was a Web3 project?
Yeah, I believe I'm strongly against what's happening with Tornado, for example. I mean, like they could have tell their citizens not to use Tornado, how they do with online casinos, for example, right? But if Tornado Cash is not operating legally in the US, I mean, what's happening? I think it's a nuisance. But that's US.
Yeah, it is. So let's switch to the gamify. So like we cleared the elephant in the room, like the bigger topics in general in Web3. So let's talk about gamify as we're all involved in it. So I think the reports for Q3 showed that the total amount of money raised in gamify was around $1.3 billion. Q4 reports have not come in yet, but I think we can expect a even lower number. But as the market sentiment has been bad for quite some time, and I think investors are getting used to this climate, and I think now the ticket size lowers, like the uh, valuations are lowering and stuff like that. Do you think that we can expect the increase in the investment in the following quarters, just because now it's cheaper, and it's not like there are less money on the market, right? There are still a lot of money available. So do you think we can expect an increase in investment in gamify in the next quarter or the next 2 quarters? Yaroslav, do you want to go first?
Yeah, first I would disagree that there is not less money in the market. There is less money, obviously, especially in our market. I mean, Web3 and gamify. Yeah, I mean, like funds are.
I meant the market in general, not.
Yeah. Funds are sitting on huge piles of cash, but we are in the. We should face this where we are in a very highly risk and I mean, like very highly risk market, like any innovative market is. So during the hard times like this, the turbulent times, money prefers safe haven. And when you can lend money to the US government for 4.5% annual profit, I mean, money would think not even twice, but 10 times before giving it anything else. I mean, like almost 5% from the most reliable borrower in the world. I mean, this is huge. So, as this happens, it's always like this rate goes up, the money on the innovative market goes down. The number of investment, number of available money goes down. On the other hand, even when there's amount of money available for Web3 and gamify market is decreasing, the rivalry, I mean, the competition for this money also decreases because, well, it's like miracle. When crypto market goes down like this, hard like this, you no longer see all those, like millions of super projects appearing every day and shillers everywhere selling shit. And I mean, like this all goes. And when the tide goes off, you see the projects that are still alive, they're still there. And then it could be easier for them to get that money, which is still left on the market. And again, very short notice is if the overall economic situation becomes better, then we may see like more funds, more players investing, more angels investing into this market. Right now, I think the best shot for all Web3 and gamify projects is to target the money which are already in the ecosystem, like the blockchain development funds and something like that, because they need to grow, they need new quality projects, and the money is there because like it's still there and doesn't go to I don't know, like to any bonds or something like that. But a part of that, I think we're still in a very tight situation for the next few quarters at least.
Iman, do you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, like Yaroslav probably have more insights coming from an investor side, but I also think like obviously like investments, VCs, and everything, the appetite has been significantly dropped, and I'm not seeing it increasing just because like they can get in cheaper. I'm not seeing it's because they have lost a lot of money recently, so a part of it is to just balance out whatever they lost by not investing on more Web3 projects. But at the same time, I am kind of comfortable with the current situation of the investment in the Web3 market because I think that there are still VCs and investors around. There are still looking. Correct me if I'm wrong, Yaroslav, but some VCs are still looking into investing in very promising disruptive projects. The problem is that I don't call it a problem. The thing is that they just be more cautious, about their due diligence and everything. So yes, I think the amount of investment in mediocre projects dropped significantly. But if you're really like a 10x kind of project, I don't think you're gonna have a problem. That there are still, like you said, Eugene yourself, there are still a lot of money for the winner projects around in the market.
Jona, have the kids given you the opportunity to speak?
A bit, yeah. I also have two-year-old twins in the background, and my son is asking some attention. But we're all modern people, so that's part of it. I have been listening, and I think one of the things I would like to add is that everything has also become more affordable. So what happens is that a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon and we're not providing value, and all those costs are now gone. So also something like marketing was really difficult, actually sort of a waste of time and money. And now you can just focus on development, and the developers are also more affordable. So I think also there is less money there, but also way less costs. And also you're not wasting a lot of money on people that are not really into the space anyway.
Okay, thanks. So let's get to the next question. I think it's kind of connected to the previous one, and I would again would like to start with Yaroslav, because I think he has a more pessimistic approach, considering like about the space being high risk and not very tempting for the investors right now. So, like, what is your take? How do you think the projects will survive, right? Like this crypto winter, without the investors being very active? Are they gonna be like laying off the big, like as much people as they can? Will they try to go into like hibernation mode, where they will put everything on pause and get to it back when the market is getting more bullish? Like what do you think will be the strategies, the startups? Obviously not the bigger guys that already have a lot of funding, but like the smaller startups will what strategies will they follow to survive this crypto winter without the investors being active?
My son is quiet now, so let me take the opportunity. This is my son, by the way. I think utility is really going to be the thing that distinguishes people from projects from each other. So, the big promises and sort of only focusing on the value of the token is not really a business model. So the business models that are actually based on getting people motivated to do certain things. So in the gaming sphere, you can provide value to game developers by getting more players to their games. So that saves them cost on advertising, for example, on player acquisition. There are all these things that are costs for companies, and you can use blockchain to help them. So blockchain platforms. But in the end, also running a business on the current internet is really expensive. There are a lot of costs, like hosting, for example. So you can expect companies to be able to do all these things at really low costs by using blockchain. So you just have to sort of explain it probably to companies. So up until now, we've been explaining it mostly to consumers, and they leave you immediately if they don't like it. So you really want companies to be vested in it. So I think that the B2B space will be probably sort of the next step towards more integration of blockchain into products and also games.
If I get the question right, it's about I'm a project. How do I survive? I mean, it's kind of no brainer. It's nothing new for Web3. It really depends on what runway you've got behind. I mean, like what amount of cash you've got in your hands. So this is the first question any project should ask, or any investor in the project should ask. And then when you have this understanding, it really depends on that amount, what options you've got. So in any case, even if say you're sitting on a decent amount of cash, and your planned runway was for like, I don't know, 1 year or 2 years, you better think about turning into 5 years or something like that, right? So most probably you won't need that for 5 years, but both from the content side, I mean, like teams right now are under great stress, most of them. teams and team members and investors all are under great stress. When everyone understands that they have got enough runway to work, then it's good, and the more the better. So even the big projects sitting on piles of cash, as you mentioned them, they're also cutting costs. They're also increasing their runway. They're doing layoffs, and most probably, the bigger the project, the higher even the percentage of people they're going to lay off, because this is the problem when you grow fast. You usually hire irresponsibly, and because you can't do that. You can't afford waiting 3 months, something like that. You just take everything you get from the market, and then during time like this, you're just laying those extra people off because you can no longer afford them. If you're short in cash, and it's like, I guess the best way right now is try to negotiate with the teams and partners and whatever, and do really put yourself into hibernation mode, so that you don't lose the progress that you have. But again, that depends on the type of the project. Some projects cannot wait and hibernate for half a year because they will become obsolete. The market will not need them in half a year. So it's not really a simple question, but it's all about cash. If you've got cash, you're good. If you have no cash, you're not that good, because getting it in these circumstances might be really a trick. Because even if we talk about investors, right now, investors are more eager to give more money to the projects who already have, safe runway for a few years, than to give it to someone who is struggling. And let's say they burn they burn 50K per month, and they have 2 months left, and you give them 200 more, okay? And what happens in these 4 months? So anyway, if you're short of cash, it's a problem.
Iman, I think you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I kind of agree with Yaroslav. It's kind of a game of cash. I mean, operationally, right? You got to do what you have to do, right? You have to change gears. You have to cut costs. Also extend the runway whenever you can. Adopt new, just being flexible enough to adopt new strategies. And also, I really do believe that, crypto winter, as you named it, right? It wasn't something that was a complete surprise, right? There was always a probability for something like that to happen. We could, I think all of us sitting here could guess that something like this sooner or later might happen. So, but in terms of operations, I think situations like this is not just for Web3, right? Struggling with resources, happens a lot of times with a lot of startups in different sectors. And I think, to me, good leaders can probably do stuff to survive. But also another thing that I want to mention here is that because you're talking about crypto winter, it almost sounds very romantic and dramatic, right? So on the same note, I think it's a good time really to reflect for a lot of us, right? If we are being honest, right, there are lots of projects out there that are only there for the hype. They were only wanting to extract that short-term value from that condition of the market when it was in the bull market. So yeah, for those, I really don't have advices how to survive for the ones that came in only for extracting short-term values. But for the ones that are really having outstanding projects, their product can really outperform the competitors by 10x, things like that. These might sound too idealistic, but I truly believe I don't think a good business cannot survive this situation. And there's always money to be invested on them.
Yeah, thank you for your take. So my next question would be, I think, you all of you said that the projects that have a solid product, or they have enough funding to to survive this crypto winter, they will be okay. What do you think about new projects entering the market? Is it like possible to enter the market right now? Imagine like everyone was building at the end of the previous year, right? The crypto was booming. So many people running in, a lot of money flying around. But what do you think about new projects starting? On one hand, there is no funding available. The sentiment is not very good. But on the other hand, there is so much less competition, and a lot of ecosystems are ready to provide the support to the good projects. The marketing support, the community support, so they will help the projects grow and build. So what is your take on the new projects entering the market? How hard it is for them? And is it easier for them because they don't have like big amount of employees yet, or is it harder because there is no funding available?
If you allow, just a few short points on this. First, there is a long queue of projects that have been building for like a year already, and they are standing there waiting for this bull market door to open. I mean, they're ready to rock. I know like a few dozens of such projects, good quality projects. They do not launch because it's very close to suicide to launch right now. If you're not a small project, if you're like you're targeting some big ambitions, it's not a good time to start, and they're like afraid, they're waiting. The second point is that we still see projects launching, and we see that we now some IFO and IEO starting to rise. They're not so huge as they were. Like, okay, it's $500,000, like 300,000, whatever. But they prove that there is still some money on the retail market. And again, that's I'm coming back to something I said at the beginning of this conversation, that people are really tired of sitting in the bottom, right? So if there is a decent project with a decent roadmap and a decent team, then maybe, yeah, there is chance they're gonna raise if everything is built right and everything is presented right. And to begin to start at this bear market is a good thing if we think that there is no bigger fall. I mean, like dramatically bigger fall. I know, like BTC going to 7 or 5 or whatever. Then I would say it's almost a perfect market to start because the expectations are low. So you're not doing like 100x from the listing and then falling down and disappearing. So the expectations are low. So maybe there will be big hype around you, but you will start growing your user base. You will start developing as a business, establishing yourself on the market. And when the time is right, you're good to boom, to rise. So it really depends. But what I know is that dozens, I know dozens, I think there are hundreds of projects, of good projects with good teams, which are on the, I'd say they have their key in the ignition phase and just ways to put it on.
Yeah, maybe I go next. Kind of disagree with some of Yaroslav's points, but to answer your question, yes, extremely. I think it's difficult for anyone new to enter the market at this time. Of course, if you have enough cash to go into that development mode, it's a good time to do that. But otherwise, if you're thinking to raise money before having anything, you either cannot or have an extremely difficult job, or unless you really have that winning idea, like something that has never been tried, like we've seen a lot of experimental models so far, especially in GameFi, that most of them so far didn't work. They never worked, right? So a lot of money already poured into those projects. But so if you have a new kind of idea, new business models that are truly promising, you might have a chance to raise money before you even have anything. But otherwise, I think like what Yaroslav said about there are many good teams with very good projects already waiting just for the market condition to get better to launch. I kind of disagree with that approach, because so what if another crypto winter happens a year later? Like, is the success of that startup or business really that much dependent into the condition of the market? If yes, then we need to ask other questions like, is it really a good thing for the success of a company to be related into things like this or not? So for me, like for example, the game that we are making, right? What we expect is that it might even succeed in a high market or a low market, right? Because we are not like basing our success metrics or monetization, revenue models and things like that based on a bull market or the value that we can extract from tokens through certain mechanics. So yeah, it really depends. Generally, again, to continue my question to previous, my answer to your previous question, I think for mediocre projects, it's going to be extremely hard to enter right now. So I don't recommend that.
Jona?
Yeah, I agree to the points of Iman. I think an important thing is that also when the economy crashed in 2008 and over the winters we've had with crypto, you had these projects that did have value and they grew over the years. Something like Instagram was also created with like a small team of people, but it had a real sort of value. People would use it. So I think you will see those projects entering. And in terms of finance, yeah, you will not have people throwing crazy money in the sphere anymore, but you will still have people that understand the technology. They will do their due diligence. They want to know who you and your partners are. They want to see everybody that's involved in the project. They want to see your long-term plan. So a lot of those mediocre projects might be stimulated to become great projects because people will say, okay, but this doesn't make sense. Why don't you change this or that? So I think it's also an opportunity for people to sort of take a step back. Don't think about the billions, but just think about having a project that serves thousands of people and not think about the dollars, but about the people. And it's going to happen because the projects that are on high running costs, they will fail. The ones that scale back and rethink their model, they might succeed. And then the ones that are new in the space, they don't have these promises to users yet. So they can promise whatever they want. They can set their new goals. So they might even be at an advantage. And I think like with internet, the costs of creating new business were way lower. And now with blockchain, even lower with sort of the capabilities you have. So it might be one of those new players again. Just like Binance is not that old a company. They used a bull run earlier to become sort of the main exchange. So you never know what happens, and probably one of the new ones is the one that will be the major player in the next bull market.
Okay, thank you. Actually, I want to like we started talking a lot about investments and stuff, and I want to go to the other side of the project. I think like the people for whom we are building the project, the customers, the players in the gamify world. Let's talk about that a bit. So I think like the good news is that the reports show that gamify. I think it showed the highest level of resilience to the crypto winter and to the bear market in terms of the amount of users, because all the other spheres have seen a great outflow of funds and of users, and gamify kind of kept up with the numbers. It was, I think, at the peak, DApp Radar showed around 1 million daily active wallets. Now I think it's around 8 to 850 100,000 active wallets. But the problem is that we're still hanging around that 1 million figure, which is, I mean, like in terms of the your can you say conservative gaming, it's a laughable amount. If you look at the amount of people playing Fortnite at any given moment, it's like dozens of millions of people just for one game, and we have less than 1 million for gamify. So what do you think will be I don't know, the event, or like what would be the next big thing that will see the rise of users in gamify? Let's say 5 million users and then 50 million users. What do you think will bring that adoption to the space?
I have a very short answer to that. It will be something that gamers won't notice. So it might be that they have NFTs in a game, but gamers don't know. So I think the one that will get really mainstream adoption will be where the functionalities of blockchain are used, and all the opportunities that it gives. But it's not only about blockchain. So it's an additional feature. So that's how you get it into these mainstream games, by just offering sort of the extra possibilities.
Yeah, I think for me also quick answer to that is, let's say if Fortnite tomorrow adds Web3 features or NFTs to its game, then you suddenly have your X million amount of active wallets, right? So that's basically, I think, one of the ways that like more mass adoption can happen in the space is for like bigger players in the market to come in, adding NFTs or other Web3 capabilities to their games. That's one way, but like more detailed, I think, answer is that we can look at it through three lenses, right? One is like Jona said, is the UX kind of lens, right? So as long as it's friction free, like users don't necessarily have to even notice that they're interacting or playing a Web3 game, or they're interacting with a wallet. So that's gonna also increase the adoption, I think, in the games. So UX, onboarding, things like that. The other one is the user lens. So one thing I noticed since I started in the Web3 gaming, a lot of games are kind of niche genres or niche kind of art styles or themes and things like that. So I think one thing that can also like increase this adoption for like more mainstream users is to just make games that are appealing to the mass market by nature. And the last lens, I think, is the ecosystem kind of lens. It's the question of how many game developers are going to come into the space, how many new games are going to be built. I think the more ecosystems being created and being grown, we are seeing a lot of, like Web3 game publishers, Web3 SDKs, kind of ecosystems. So I think while they grow, the adoption of Web3 gaming also grows with that. We also have the same approach internally with our QUDO project, which is like a platform. So we're trying to address all these three lenses, right? We are going to have like a seamless onboarding, like the players won't notice. Like we're using like custodial wallets and solutions like that to achieve that. And also, like in terms of the game, we are using the most snackable kind of game genre that's available out there, right? Like hyper casual games, famous hyper casual games. So we're kind of like removing that risk of creating a game that might not appeal to the mass market. So things like that, I think, help drive that adoption.
I'm gonna base my answer on the thesis the guys provided, because it covered almost everything. As I agree with the thing that like seamless integration, seamless UX can help drive adoption. On the other side, this holds us from creating the true blockchain game ecosystem, because if we are using the in-game custodial wallets and the users don't even notice they're using blockchain or NFTs, whatever, how is that by nature different from just creating another backend based game? So you're substituting the database entries with blockchain entries. But if it's a custodial wallet, so you're still in the control of the user's assets. And this is a very, a very tricky question, because from one side, we do need this seamless experience to attract more users. But on the other side, we're creating some kind of a hybrid, which is neither truly decentralized nor so UX great as a simple backend game. So for me, this approach has more flaws than advantages, honestly. I do agree with the thesis from Iman that as more games appear in the ecosystem, so we should create the choice for users. As gamers have more choice, and the next step is like the interchangeability of the assets of the games. I think that's where the true potential of NFT games lies, and blockchain games lies there. Because right now in classic gaming, you are stuck to the assets of the game you're playing. So in the approach we have right now, what you can do is that, okay, I'm tired of using this sword, so I just want to go and find someone who's gonna buy it. And again, if it's a niche game or niche blockchain, you have problems with that. So as more games come, as more assets are created, and as users do get acquainted to the fact that they own those assets, and that those assets and their, like gaming history, gaming reputation, gaming achievements, all is part of their digital identity, which they're aware of, not aware, but aware of, and they understand that this is what they own, and this is what they want to share partly or totally with game developers, with other games. I think that's where the real potential. And yes, this is very challenging in terms of this critical mass of users, where we start seeing the snowball effect or the hockey stick effect, whatever you call it. I don't know if it's 5 million, 10 million. And the fact that some big title introduces NFTs or Web3 in any case, I'm not really sure it's gonna help, because most probably they're gonna use some kind of a like custodial solution approach. Like Fortnite will create a Fortnite wallet with Fortnite tokens, and this won't really cater to the whole blockchain games ecosystem. But the more people talk about NFTs and blockchain and whatever, the better. But I think we just gotta build. We need to attract, to educate gamers who are ready to become the early adopters, because any innovation comes to the breakthrough through the early adopters, to those like 1.5% of people who do care about something new. They want to be the pioneers, they want to be the first. So our challenge and our task as Web3 games developers or investors into Web3 games is to work to identify those people in the like classic gaming industry, the classic gamers who are ready to become the early adopters of blockchain games, attract them, and give them the opportunity to help us build the world that's going to be attractive for everyone else. Because eventually, gamers do talk, and they exchange a lot of information, and like you can imagine, like 10 gamers talking to each other, one saying, okay, I'm doing this and there, and by the way, my assets are in my wallet and I can sell it, I can exchange them. Then the other 9 guys out of those known guys, like 6 guys, going to ask a question, oh, I should try it. That because early adopters who share your values, who share your vision, they make that snowball effect, and they cater to that breakthrough. So that's my point on this.
Great, thank you for your take. And for me, I'll just have my 5 cents. I think the other big thing that can change this space is the entrance of the bigger guys, like the big studios finally making a move. I think Ubisoft were the first to start delving into space. They actually released one of the, I think, of a Tom Clancy series with the NFTs. But it's kind of strange, I think they started hiring people for their blockchain department in 2017. But at the same time, just like a month or 2 ago, the CEO of Ubisoft said that, oh, no, we are not going into space. We're still learning. We are still looking what we can do with it. So my next question will be actually based on that. Like, what do you think will bring the bigger guys into the sphere? So I'm talking 2K, Epic Games, Ubisoft, EA, stuff like that. What can I mean, like, because I think there is still like conflicting thoughts. Some people think that it's inevitable that they will come into space, and some people think that they will not at all. So what is your take on that?
I'd say they will not in the nearest future, for two reasons. First, the recent crashes make this much more difficult because this is right now it would be a huge reputational risk, like a super huge reputational risk. And given the size of the gaming market, of gaming blockchain market, this is a prey they gonna not hunt because their main business got to be threatened, and their main business model is like making money on selling assets to the players and selling subscriptions and whatever, right? And I can't imagine a board of each of these companies approving the strategy of introducing NFTs, blockchain, whatever of this kind. I mean, like this is not going to pass. So like the guys sitting on the board of these companies, okay, we are making like 5 billion a year selling those server-based whatever, and now you want us to create some kind of a secondary market where a player is going to do that and they're going to build. I mean, what are you talking about? Oh, this is NFTs. Oh, this is FTs. Oh, okay. Now we're telling fraud and threatening our main business model. I can imagine me as a CEO sitting in that room trying to sell this idea to the board. Can't even think about it.
Yeah, I agree that it's unlikely, but in the hypothetical situation, most will follow if one goes for it. And I can imagine that a bigger publisher, might dip into it to get players from one game interested by offering them, for example, NFTs that enable them certain things in other games. But they see sort of the value for cross-game tokens, for example, cross-game NFTs. That they will use it in that way, and that this is a way that it is secured, and a lot of hacking will occur. So it's sort of also a business decision that is wise. But you need one of these publishers that has a lot of games to sort of take the first step. And I mean, they are working on it. So it really depends on if they can sort of see the value. And I think it will be in player acquisition. So moving one player from one game to the other.
Yeah, but my take is a little bit different from Jona and Yaroslav, because the way I see it, like bigger players already have many more advantages compared to like newcomers. One being their expertise in making good games, but the other one's also like having enough cash to do enough experiments, right? Because usually one startup, one company that enters, they probably have enough money to do one or two experiments and then they're out if they both fail. But what I do feel is that they are probably some of the bigger players in the market. They're already probably doing some experiments, maybe in the sales mode. And the main thing, in my opinion, that like makes it available in the market is for them to make a working model, because I think that's the biggest challenge to find really a working Web3 model, whether it's using tokens or NFTs in an efficient way, to also not cannibalize their other revenue streams, because that's a difficult topic for itself. But I do believe as soon as they find a working model that adds to their revenues, they will also enter.
Okay, that's I mean, like that's also my take. I think if they can find an economic model where it works, because I would say like 10 years ago, if you would talk about microtransactions, people will say, well, this is stupid, it will hurt the players, none of the developers will ever do that to their community. And now we live in the world where everything revolves around microtransactions. So they're still seen as an evil thing by the players, but they became like a default state for most of the games. So it's yeah, Yaroslav.
Just a short notice here, but still, if we take about World of Warcraft, if we talk about FIFA, for example, like the most successful sports franchise, right? They are not changing the way they're doing, and they're just increasing profits with every year. So I've been looking into FIFA for a long time, saying I do know they're experimenting with things because they have this ultimate team mode, which is like perfectly designed for watching these footballers' assets and stadiums and whatever. And they have tried actually very experimental introducing a few mechanics that could be resembling Web3. And now we can see them rolling everything back to the classic model, and it seems like that's working perfectly fine. I would be happy if they join. I mean, like that's why I'm still a little bit skeptical.
Yeah, but that's exactly. I think that's exactly was my point. So, like, if you would say 10 years ago that FIFA would be pay to win, people would just say that you're talking nonsense. And the thing is that Ultimate Team is now basically pay to win, because if you will invest money, you can get the best players immediately and just start crushing everyone. So like pay to win in the World of Warcraft was like kind of shady, because you people were like playing a year to get a sword, but then you can just go and buy a sword and just crash everyone. And obviously the people that spent a year of their life playing, they didn't feel really good. But back then it was like a super controversial topic, like, oh, this is crazy. But now like pay to win is just a default state. Like you if you don't see that in a game, you're kind of like, really? This is a new approach. So that's what I'm trying to say. So something that seems crazy a couple of years ago seems crazy now might be seen as a completely normal and default state in 2 or 3 years. So I think we're running out of time. So I think everyone can have a minute just for a closing remark. Like what do they think? Like how to survive in the Web3? Maybe you have some wishes for the fellow Web3 builders. Please.
I would like to say that if you're still here, and that's a great thing already. And I think it's also about always being prepared for things like this. Like this is an extreme event, but it has been happening sort of since February, and then some things in the crypto market happened that made it worse. But there are still teams there, so there's less competition, less money, but still a lot of people that want to do great things. So if you're still here, just keep trying, and you might be one of the ones that becomes really successful.
Yeah, my last words would be for people. I really recommend, like, it's a really good time to innovate in the Web3 gaming space. I think like going back to the fundamentals, the main questions: why are you even doing Web3 games? Why do you even need an NFT? Why can't you do it in Web2, right? Like simple but very important questions like this often people skip in a bull market, but it's a good time to really think about those stuff, innovate in a very extreme level. I'm really looking forward to see those projects. And also, I'm hoping for the next bull market, I'm hoping for people to carry over all the wisdom that all of us gained during the bear market, and just don't go chasing hype and stuff again.
Okay, thank you. Yaroslav, you have 20 seconds, I believe.
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys for this meaningful discussion. It was fun to discuss these things, and I hope we continue meeting on this events with better market sentiments around us. So I wish all of us good luck. Thanks, Eugene, for moderating.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining in. Thanks AGC for having us. Have a great day, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you all. Bye.